Good morning, everybody. I'm here with the amazing psychic Liz Cross. How are you doing today?
I am great. How are you?
I'm good. So today we're going to probe the consciousness, I guess, of victim mentality or the mental state of victim mentality, which we all have to some degree, I'm sure, from our past trauma and past lives. And this was a listener request probe. So thank you to the person that submitted these questions. I'll be reading off the questions, and I'm sure I'll go in some weird and strange places off the beaten path as usual. Also, but thank you for submitting these questions, whoever you are. So we're gonna bring in a few people here that they wanted to bring in. So first, we need planet Mars.
Oh, planet
So
Mars?
right from I guess from an astrological perspective.
Okay,
and
great.
then Saturn, planet
Okay.
Saturn. And I should also say they're making a note here that Mars represents strength and Saturn represents confidence. Do you feel that from them?
Mars represents strength. Yeah, power. Yes, Mars is power. Because I asked Mars, I said, "What do you represent? Strength? It's more power. So, what is the difference between strength and power?
Mm,
Power is determination. Strength is like sort of, maybe getting a slap in the face and standing there and taking it, right? I'm strong enough to take it, but I'm
mm,
not empowered to do anything about it.
okay.
But power is determination and action.
So yeah, it's very masculine.
Very.
Okay. And Saturn represents confidence. Do you get that?
Saturn, do you represent confidence? Yes.
Okay.
And also the truth. I'm getting Saturn represents the truth, like undeniable truth, reality, like stark reality.
Okay. All right. And then the third entity we're going to bring in is the goddess Athena.
Mm. Yes, this is our goddess lady who
So
submitted the probe.
okay,
Okay.
so I want to know if Athena is a conscious mind construct or is there actually a goddess Athena?
Ooh, is Athena, are you a conscious mind contract? No, no, Athena did exist.
Okay, so she was a real person that like ascended or is now in that position?
Were you a real person that ascended? Ooh, were you once a real person? No. So, are you a conscious mind construct? I mean, of sorts. So I feel like there was someone who was Athena,
Mhm.
okay?
Yeah,
But like everything back then, it was blown out of proportion.
right.
And then that became the energy and the consciousness. You know what I mean?
So
Like
there was
it's
a
kind
real
of,
person and then a mythology was based around that person and then that combines together to create the goddess Athena, which we're talking to now.
yes, that's correct.
Gotcha. And she represents the warrior being the feminine perspective and being the warrior goddess of strength. Would that be a good classification?
Yes, but also using what you've got, right? Flaunt
Mm.
it if you got it.
Okay. All
You know
right.
what I mean? Like recognizing your own internal and external strengths and using them to the best of your ability is
Mm.
what I'm getting. So that's where she is very strong.
Okay. And then the fourth entity we have here is Hermes, which,
Mm.
well, there's many versions of Hermes through mythology if you go to different cultures. So was Hermes based on a real person at one point?
Is Hermes based on a real person? No, no. Hermes is a conscious mind construct.
Okay, interesting. And this person is bringing Hermes in as a masculine perspective. So do you feel a lot of masculine energy from Hermes?
I do. I
Okay.
do. Mhm.
Okay. All right. So everything checks out here. We've got our panel. I also want to bring in Carl Jung for a more like modern perspective.
Oh, fascinating. Wow, this
Okay.
is going to be good.
Okay. All right. So this is part one, and these questions are going to be directed to all four, or I guess five of those entities that we just talked to on our panel. So number one, victim mentality. How would this panel of energies or entities best define victim mentality of the human of this day and age in the modern age?
In the modern age, how would you define victim mentality? It's a total mind trap.
Yeah. And is this now when we ask is it in the modern age, is this always rooted in, from the non-modern age, from previous lifetimes? Or is there some aspect of this that is completely modern?
Uh, is this is this are we moving? So what they're telling me is like we're moving more into a victim mentality.
Hmm.
As a species, we are losing strength as a collective, right? We're going into more victimhood, more individual circumstances. Uh, it's the ones that do not play victim, is what they're telling me, that will turn out to be the strongest, the richest, the best
Hmm.
going forward. They're
Hmm.
the unstoppable ones because they do not sit there feeling sorry for themselves. They basically, what the panel is telling me is they may be a victim, but it's a short lived, okay? They don't allow it to trap them mentally.
They can recognize it and rise above it in the moment.
Right. They may be the victim for 5 minutes,
Right.
okay? But they don't allow it to stop them. In fact, they turn it around to the point where it's a big motivator for them.
Mm.
I refuse to be the victim.
Hmm.
I refuse to stay quiet. I refuse to um be persecuted for, whatever is
Mm.
what they're telling me. Now, do we bring the victim mentality trap forward into this life? Is it from always deep rooted in past lives? Yes.
Mm. And is there like a modern thing that's accelerating this? Like, would technology be accelerating this victim mentality?
Ooh, is there a modern theory or a modern technology, something that's accelerating? Yes, because it's the amount of attention that is being paid to victims.
Mm.
Victims traditionally never got, now going back, thousands of years here is what they're telling me, they never received much attention.
Right.
People just carried on with their lives. Oh, what a shame. It wasn't maximized. It wasn't used as a ploy to, and when I say a ploy, what I'm getting very strongly is this is really down to the media. They're
Yeah.
telling, and it makes sense. Like, as they're telling me, I'm like, oh, yeah, because, the media's job is to get you to tune in.
Yep.
And by doing the victim routine, it basically gets more views, it gets more people engaged. Yes, it is horrific, but it's the media that's controlling this. So the media are the ones that are growing the energy around the victim mentality. It's very rare that they actually report that somebody was a victim, but they refuse to be a victim. They want to take a stand. They want to show, they created this because of being a
Right.
victim. That's very rare. It's
Yep.
usually just victim, victim, victim.
Yeah. I would agree with that on like the bigger platforms, right? You may get like a local news channel that maybe once in a while does like a, like an empowering whatever news piece, but definitely never on the national stage or global stage for sure. And then also, what about social media as well? Is
Oh,
this something that's accelerating the victim mentality?
does social media accelerate the victim? And not as much as the media.
Okay.
It's the media that drives the victim mentality. Now they can pick up social media, we're living in a totally different age. I mean, now a lot of the news outlets are basically just scouring the social media circuit and picking out different stories here, there, and everywhere, and just compiling it into one newspaper or one news channel. Um, and they, of course, they also want the most views. So, but they don't have the power that the big news organizations have, right?
Mm,
So
mm.
like the BBC, Sky, CNN, Fox, all of those places. Those are the real driving force, these big television media outlets.
Okay. But what about young people though? I mean, they're not really watching that as much. So if you're growing up, you're living your media is social media. So looking forward, is that a big accelerator of the victim mentality for young people?
Yeah. Well, what they're saying is we have definitely turned a corner. It's no longer about the collective stand. It's now the individual.
Mm,
Whereas before, when you were facing adversity, it was usually, country by country. This country is facing,
sure.
criticism or attack by another country. And what happens is, for instance, like Russia, Ukraine, they've now had to put their feelings aside, individuality aside, and they're having to take a stand against, another big nation. But when you don't have those circumstances going on, what I'm getting is it becomes more individual. And how are they connecting? Well, what the panel is saying here, they're connecting through sharing trauma.
Mm, okay.
And that's fine. Sharing trauma is great. It lets people know that you're not alone, that, bad things do happen to a lot of people, but they're not doing anything from that trauma, is what
Right.
I'm getting. They're not using it as a place to grow from. They're using it as, just to share. You have to, in order to get out of the victim mindset, they're saying, you have to go from the sharing. Yes, this did happen to me, but this is how I became a stronger person. This is what it did for me.
Yeah.
And the lack of poverty, what the panel are saying, even though there's still a lot of poverty, but it's certainly not in the West like it used to be. Poverty used to be absolutely diabolical, like, with no help from any government, no assistance, no food stamps, no housing. And that also, you know, because that was happening on such a mass scale back then, if you wanted to survive, you had to be strong. You didn't have time to sit around and say, oh, poor me, I don't have anything to eat,
Right.
right? You had to move away from that. You didn't have time to be a victim. But as the poverty is alleviating, what is happening is that is allowing for more time to be a victim, is what they're telling me.
Makes perfect sense to me. All right. Are people who hold this mentality, are they aware that they're stuck in it? Or is this completely oblivious to most of them?
Are they aware that they're stuck in it? Most of the time, no. But the problem is, some of them don't want to move forward. Some of them get a lot of attention by being the victim.
Yes.
Um, and a lot of them don't know how to move forward.
Sure. Is there anything that another human can say or do to someone who has a victim mentality perspective on the world to make them aware of it? Is it, so in other words, can someone easily just knock them out of their victim mentality easily or pull them out? Or is this primarily like a internal thing they have to deal with themselves?
Is this, is there anything that we can do, or is this more an internal thing? It's mainly internal,
Yeah.
right? But it also, the panel are saying it also depends upon role models. If you are surrounded by family members who are strong, who refuse to be the victim, they're positive role models, they get things done, they move forward, nothing holds them back, then that also is a contributing factor. It's more leading by example and having those role models that will, well, especially when it comes to parents, the ones that tend to be stuck in the victim mindset, what is coming in are children of addicts, right? And that could be a whole array of addictions, but children of addicts are typically not that strong. Um, Now you can have the odd one here or there that says, I refuse to live like this. I will not live like this. I'm so miserable. I'm going to create a life of my own, so far removed from this addiction household. But those people are rare. That
Mhm.
those are your really, really strong people
Yeah.
going forward. They're the strong souls. But how addictive households play a massive role in victim mentality,
Yeah.
because what do addicts do? They are master manipulators. They know how to tug on the heartstrings of people to get what they want. Poor me, I can't let go of my addiction. Poor me, and yes, that's probably true. They can't let go of their addiction. It's very difficult to get over an addiction, especially if you have a predisposition to an addictive personality. I totally understand that. But you see, when they're looking at these role models who can't get out of their situation, then it's likely that that energy is transferred onto the child during childhood. And now it's building this energy, is what I'm getting, this energy field of victim mentality. So
Sure.
it's very difficult to break out of.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Um, can the energy of victim mentality manifest in a certain illness?
Mm. Can the energy of victim mentality manifest in it? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Mostly illnesses around surrounding the heart.
Okay, interesting. Or are they more prone to bad luck, quote unquote, or certain
Mm.
events in life that would be negative?
Ooh, this is an excellent probe. Thank you. Um, are they prone to more? Yes, they are. Yes, they are, because that was an excellent question. Because what happens is, as we've now heard the panel tell us, that the energy field is laid down to this victim mentality, right? And it draws things in to make you even more of a victim. Now, of course, every experience that comes into you, you either get trapped by it or you grow from it. And if they're already trying to fight this victim mentality energy field, it becomes even harder to come out of it. But what the universe does is it keeps sending these things into you in order to make you snap out of it. But I think that's where the universe has it wrong a lot of times. There are some souls that are just not, they don't thrive from bad circumstances. In fact, I had a CTT session last weekend where this soul of the person I was working on, that was the big message in the CTT, was you are making these contracts, these soul contracts with these destructive souls who are a lot stronger than you, who it doesn't bother them if they have negative circumstances in the timeline. But for this particular person, they can't handle it. They do not grow from living in a pit of negative energy, and negative circumstances and trauma. It doesn't work for them. They just don't have the strength. Now, going forward, what they're going to have to do, because their conscious mind is actually stronger than their soul, they're going to have to send the energy of strength from the conscious mind energy field into the soul in order for the soul to get stronger. But they had been doing this for thousands and thousands of lifetimes. But she refuses to live be trapped by victim mentality, but that was only by the conscious mind. You've got to make sure your soul is also not playing that victim mentality or living in that victim mentality trap, that victim consciousness trap. And in this case, that's what was happening, and the soul could not get out. So she's got a lot of work to do. She's going to have to send a lot of information over and try and get the soul stronger, so that when the soul goes back into spirit and these same soul family members are like, oh yeah, let's do this and this and this and this, right? Um, she is not going to sign up for that. So yeah, that's very interesting. That was a really good question.
So I think what we're going to do is we're going to stop this part one and we're going to make a part two, and we're going to delve into some more questions here. We're going to probe some celebrities to see some real world examples of, people that did overcome adversity, how they did that, what their soul path was, how they got out of that victim mentality. So you don't want to miss that. So you have to become a member on our Patreon to see all of the part two of the videos that we do. It's if you go to Patreon/remote viewing and beyond .com.
Close. Patreon.com/remote viewing and beyond. And there's a lot going on over there. So yeah, this is going to be excellent, because hopefully we'll find from those real world examples how we can release ourselves from these mental victim traps. Yeah, excellent. So yeah, see you on the flip side. Thank you.
Thank you.